Do you think it's time to put away our regular phones and spend a lot of money to buy a Galaxy Z Fold 6? We used the Z Fold 6 for a few days in different situations to see if it can replace our regular phone and if it's worth the high price or just a luxury item. At first glance, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 doesn't look very different from the Fold 5. The changes are small, but these small changes make the phone feel much better. For example, the corners are now sharper and flatter, the edges are more even, and it's only 7 grams heavier than the S24 Ultra. The crease in the middle of the screen is also less noticeable. Overall, when you hold the phone, it feels much better than the Fold 5. You could say that the Fold 6 is really a premium phone, and it gives a feeling like the S24 Ultra, but with a big difference. Instead of one screen, it has 2, and one of them magically folds in the middle. One design change in the Z Fold 6 that I really liked, and I think many others will too, is the matte finish on the frame, which makes the phone look more classy. But unlike the S24 Ultra, the Fold 6 doesn't have a titanium frame. It uses aluminum to keep the weight under control. This year, Samsung focused more on making the Z Fold stronger, so these changes aren't very noticeable, and we can't test them well. But for foldable phones to eventually replace regular phones, they need to be much stronger than they are now. Samsung says they added a layer of neodymium to the main screen. This layer works like a mix of water and cornstarch. When you press it gently, it's soft. But if you press it hard, it becomes stiff to protect the screen from damage. We didn't really notice this difference much, but using this magical screen still feels great. For the first time, Samsung has given this phone an IP48 rating, which means if the phone accidentally falls into water, nothing will happen to it. The previous model had this protection too, but the Fold 6 is now a little more resistant to particles that are 1 millimeter or bigger. However, if you hear that the Z Fold 6 is now dust resistant, it's not really true. Dust particles are usually smaller than 1 millimeter, so you still can't take this phone to places like the desert or the beach without worrying. Using the Fold 6 was very stressful because of its high price and the outer screen. We were always worried that it might get scratched. Honestly, we expected more changes in the design, or maybe I should say, we hoped for more. Samsung is very insistent on the Fold's design and thinks that this is the best size for the outer screen, while other competitors like Google and OnePlus have chosen wider screens for their foldable phones. This year, the outer screen of the Z Fold is only 1/10 of an inch bigger, and the phone is 0.5 millimeter thinner when opened, which isn't a big change. When you hold the phone in its closed state, it still feels a bit like holding a remote control, which was a bit annoying for us. But overall, using the phone feels much better than the Z Fold 5. The brightness and color accuracy of the screens have improved, so watching movies or playing games looks very bright. However, the large screen advantage is more useful for playing games or looking at gallery photos. When watching movies, a lot of the screen is black because of the movie's aspect ratio, so it doesn't make a big difference. One thing that makes watching movies on the Z Fold 6 great is its excellent speakers. The sound volume, bass, and clarity of dialogues are all very good. I watched John Wick and Oppenheimer with the Z Fold 6, and the sound effects, explosions, and background details were amazing. The speakers are great for music too, and even noisy songs sound very clear. Using the Z Fold 6 for reading books, writing, and browsing the web is a bit better than with regular phones, but not enough to completely impress me. The crease in the middle of the screen is smaller now, but it's still there. You can feel it a little when you scroll, although it's less noticeable than before. If you just want a better experience for watching movies, browsing the web, and reading, you might be better off using a tablet or laptop. However, the unique design of foldable phones is useful for multitasking. The Z Fold 6 is more practical for content creators and journalists compared to regular phones. For example, you can have up to 3 apps side by side on the screen. In our experience, having 2 apps next to each other was the most useful. One time, the Z Fold's multitasking was really helpful when I was recording a video of an event and checking and replying to group messages at the same time. The 12 GB of RAM was enough for many multitasking tasks and never felt lacking. Another useful feature of the Z Fold's foldable screen is that you can fold the phone and use the bottom part of the screen as a virtual trackpad, making your phone act like a laptop. To be honest, this feature doesn't work very well because the phone's aspect ratio doesn't give you enough space to work comfortably. You end up with a very wide screen that makes typing difficult, as you have to scroll a lot, and you lose the virtual trackpad while typing. Even typing with 2 fingers isn't very easy with this phone. We had some experienced typists who found many issues with the Z Fold's keyboard. So if you want to show off your typing skills with the Z Fold 6, it might not be the best choice. Overall, we didn't see much improvement in user experience or the flex mode. Another cool feature is called Portrait Studio, which turns your selfies into cartoon-style images. There's also a sketch-to-image feature that gives you a Picasso-like feeling by turning your sketches into high-quality pictures. However, when we tried to use the S Pen from the S23 Ultra on the Fold, it didn't allow it. The phone quickly gave a warning that you must use the Special Fold S Pen or the S Pen Pro to avoid damaging the screen. Speaking of photos, the cameras on the Z Fold 6 haven't changed in terms of arrangement or specifications compared to the previous generation. They still fall behind flagship phones. The main camera is 50 megapixels, the telephoto is 10 megapixels, and the ultra-wide is the same 12 megapixels as before. Even the selfie cameras haven't changed. They're still the old 10 and 4 megapixels. The photo experience with the Z Fold 6 has improved a bit due to the powerful chip and software upgrades, but it's still not enough to satisfy serious photography fans. To test the camera performance, we compared the Z Fold 6 with the Pixel 8, which also has a 50-megapixel main camera and costs under $1,000. In the photo we took with the main camera, the Z Fold 6 had better dynamic range, with better light balance in both dark and bright areas compared to the Pixel 8. However, when we zoom in on the photos, the Pixel 8 captures more details, and its photo is a bit sharper. The colors in the Z Fold's photos are also more saturated and look less natural, while the Pixel 8 tries to keep the colors closer to reality. The photos we took with the ultra-wide camera had similar results. The Pixel 8 captures more details and has more natural colors, but the Z Fold 6 offers better dynamic range. The telephoto camera on the Z Fold can take photos with 3x optical zoom, and in terms of color and dynamic range, it's pretty similar to the main camera. The details are also good in bright environments. However, the wide camera can distort the face in portrait mode, while the telephoto camera provides a more realistic result. The cameras also perform fairly well in low light conditions with good focus, detail, and low noise, and they don't overly edit the images. But it's important not to expect flagship-level quality from the telephoto camera in low-light situations with the Fold 6. The under-display selfie camera on the Z Fold 6 is really only good enough for video calls. But the main selfie camera on the outer display can take detailed photos with skin tones that look quite natural. Samsung doesn't apply as many beauty effects as some Chinese phones do, but the result is still flattering, and you won't feel like the camera makes you look worse. It gives a realistic result. Despite some shortcomings in the camera and other areas, the Z Fold 6 offers the best and most complete software experience among all foldable phones on the market. However, it still hasn't fully taken advantage of the foldable screen's potential, especially in multitasking. This is a bit disappointing because the phone is very powerful, using the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip, and it shouldn't struggle with heavy tasks or multitasking. The flagship chip in the Z Fold 6 is newer and more powerful than the chips in other foldable phones on the market. It's likely capable of handling the 7 years of software updates that Samsung has promised. This year, Samsung has included a better and stronger cooling system in the Z Fold 6, However, according to the benchmarks we've seen, the Galaxy S24 Ultra is still Samsung's most powerful flagship, though not by a huge margin. When you play heavy games on the Z Fold 6, one part of the phone can get really hot, which might be uncomfortable, but the phone doesn't slow down and runs the games smoothly. The battery capacity and 25-watt charging speed remain unchanged from the previous generation, but the performance has improved significantly. If you only use the main display, the battery can last around 11 hours. The outer display of the Z Fold 6 offers about 16 hours of battery life, which is about 2 hours more than the S24 Ultra. In summary, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 is Samsung's best foldable phone yet.